Hello Scorpio, this is your 2018 yearly tarot reading. This is going to be a 21 card spread, and it's going to just cover all the details of what's going to be going on for you in the new year. So give me a few more seconds and then I will cut the cards. Okay, a card did fall out, and this is the Wheel of the Year. Okay, so let's get started. The second card will be a Five of Wands. This will be a Six of Swords. This will be Justice. I have the Hermit. I have Temperance. And then I have a Four of Swords. Okay, so this is the first 7 cards. There are 21 cards. So you're going to have 3 rows of 7. This is an Ace of Pentacles. I have a Queen of Swords. This is a Two of Swords, reversed. I have a Page of Cups. I have a Knight of Wands. This is the Tower. And then I have a Queen of Pentacles. All right, one more row. This is a Knight of Cups. I have a Page of Swords. This is the Magician. I have an Eight of Swords. I have a Six of Pentacles. This is a Queen of Cups. And then I have a Five of Swords. The swords are really standing out here. You also have some water here. Interestingly enough, you do have a Page of Cups here. Then you have a Knight of Cups. Okay. And then closer to the end, you have a Queen of Cups. Now, the Knight of Cups is usually associated with Pisces, and the Queen of Cups is usually associated with Cancer. Okay, the Page of Cups is not really associated with anything. I think it's interesting how you have all of these court cards in water, and other than these court cards, I don't see much water here. Now, of course, this can be linked to your energy, Scorpio, because you are a water sign. You also have Temperance here, which also has the element of water. Um, and also, um, there's water in several of your other major arcana cards. You do have a Six of Swords, which is traveling over water. So water is still significant. And just because you don't have a lot of cards with cups, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be some emotional shifts happening throughout the year. In fact, I'm thinking that the reason these dominant court cards come up, remember, court cards can represent people, but they also represent more bold action, individual choices and decisions. Remember that pages deliver messages. There are two interpretations of pages. A page is someone who can deliver a message, or in the tarot, it can mean that you're going to receive a message of love. And then pages represent beginners, being young and starting out. So when I have this Page of Cups here, and it's right in the middle of your spread, it's the fourth column out of the 7 that's in the middle. And then in the second column, it's also the fourth card, that's also in the middle of 7. So it's in the middle of these rows here. It's the middle row, but it's also the fourth card in a row of 7. So the columns and the rows have this Page of Cups directly in the middle. And so beginning a relationship for some of you, opening up emotionally, starting over again in love, okay? Some of you will definitely be possibly encountering a new romance, especially when I get this big, bold Knight of Wands that follows afterwards, okay? And then when we get to a Knight of Cups, Knights take action. Knights bring change. Knights confront obstacles. They solve problems. So we get emotion, especially in a relationship reading, this emotional shift here, falling in love more deeply, a relationship that some of you will be, participating in, stronger commitment. And then when we get here to the Queen of Cups, so we're graduating from a page to a knight to a queen. The Queen of Cups is in control of how she feels. She doesn't overreact. Queens, in contrast to kings, they rule. They're the active energy of the cups. Queens are more passive. The Queen of Cups is about self-esteem and optimism and joy. And so, these cups in your spread are quite meaningful. And I feel like some of you are going to be taking a journey of a new relationship that will be developing. And maybe you're even coming to the end of 2017 with the goal of finding a new relationship. You do have that Wheel of the Year right at the beginning, and usually this is a shift or change in luck. It's also called the Wheel of Fortune under the traditional Rider-Waite. And so, you're starting the year off with a new shift and a new beginning, especially with this Ace of Pentacles nearby. So, very interesting with cups. I feel as if the swords are definitely prominent in each row here, because you have a 6 of Swords with a 4 of Swords. So we're traveling And then this Four of Swords, which can be interpreted as the vacation card. Yeah, traveling, Four of Swords. So I feel like for some of you Scorpios, um, taking breaks in the early year, doing some important traveling. And it's not just related to relationships. I think some of you might be transitioning to new jobs, transitioning to new homes. Not just usually this Six of Swords, it can be associated with healing emotionally because you are traveling over water here. And I'm kind of seeing what I'm feeling from this card is the energy for some of you Cancers to, because the orb represents the wand as well. So I always like this card when it shows up because it's a combination of water, air, and fire. You're using this wand, your internal will, to to direct a path here. You're traveling, you're using the wand as fire represents your will and your motivation and your enthusiasm and courage, you know, being fearless. And so these swords here, these are swords of thinking and healing. Swords represent the psychological, the mental, how we perceive reality, our judgments, our decisions. Okay, and so we have this balance of intent here. We're trying to get to stability, a new land, you know, the energy of pentacles. And so I think a lot of you Scorpios are going to be making conscious decisions here where you're having a shift of luck, you're dealing with conflict, and you're like, okay, it's now time for something new. Okay, so this is a good shift here. And then you go from a Six of Swords to the retreat and quietness and stillness of a Four of Swords. And it's right next to Temperance and the Hermit, which I'll get to shortly. But then you have these swords. You have a Queen of Swords here. And for some of you Scorpios, it can represent another person in your life, man or woman. A Queen of Swords is someone who's very wise. The sword represents clarity and truth, and the Queen of Swords has sort of taken her defeat. She's been defeated. She's gone through a lot of tough times. So when we get to this Queen of Swords, we're looking at someone in your life that some of you are attached to, a person of interest. It can also represent you embracing clarity and wisdom and learning from past mistakes or learning from past tragedies. This Queen of Swords is facing a Two of Swords reversed. She's facing a difficult decision. She's facing, sometimes when this Two of Swords is reversed, it means that there's a lack of cooperation. Sometimes it can mean you're blocked, that there's a separation between the head and the heart. There's a separation between the conscious and subconscious. Because in order to have that single sword of clarity that the Queen of Swords is holding, you have to drop one of those swords. Okay? You have to be willing to make that decision. You have to be willing to give something up. You have to compromise on something. Okay, but I'm getting a little bit of blockage. I'm getting a little bit even of stubbornness, that some of you Scorpios might be afraid to make a decision, or someone in your life might be afraid to make a decision. So I'm not ruling out this swords, that it could be someone meaningful to some of you Scorpios. It can definitely be the energy surrounding someone very close to you, if not just a love interest, maybe a close family member or child. So in this last row here, you have Three Swords, a Page of Swords. Once again, pages deliver messages. but pages also are beginners. They're young children. They start off on a journey. And I do feel that for some of you, this Page of Swords could represent a little bit of a holdup or a delay. Even an important discussion that is going to shift events a little bit. Keep thinking an issue with the job. So that's when we come here to an Eight of Swords, feeling stuck, feeling trapped, a little bit of confusion. And it's up to you to sort of take that blindfold off and be willing to see what your other options are. And then I have a Five of Swords, which is the card of conflict. Sometimes it can mean suffering a defeat, okay? And sometimes you're the one who might lose. And the general message from a Five of Swords is pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again. Okay, but it is the card of conflict. It is the card of always trying to be right. Okay, so those are the swords, the cups. As far as pentacles, once again, not a lot of pentacles here. From what I can see, one pentacle, you have an Ace of Pentacles here, new opportunities. Interesting how this Ace of Pentacles is right under the wheel of the year here, shifts and changes. There's a pentacle in the middle here, pentacle in the middle here. So a lot of you in your material world and your finances are going to have new opportunities. And then we have this Six of Pentacles here in the third row heading to the end of the year. Now this is the card of generosity, getting a gift. And it's possible some of you might get raises or new opportunities, seeing that the Six of Pentacles is following the Ace of Pentacles. Okay. I feel like for some of you, it could be you giving to a cause, you helping someone out. Okay. And once I look at the other cards, I'll get back to that. Also, wands, keep in mind, you have your symbolic wand here. You do have the magician here with the wand. You know, with the infinity sign, the lemarand, which is the card, the symbol of infinity, infinite power. The lemniscate, that's the infinity sign that you see. So this is a card of great power and influence here. And it's about inner power, manifesting what you want. It's sort of like taking control over your own life, and it's in more simplistic terms. And so with the other wands here, I'm getting a Five of Wands here, which is the card of chaos and a little bit of confusion, because the five is the number of conflict and change and confrontation. And so you do have that Five of Swords here. You also have this Five of Wands here. And sometimes it's, you know, the Five of Wands and the Five of Swords can seem similar, because the Five of Wands is about conflicts or disagreements. Sometimes it's about competition, being on the same page with someone and not being on the same page as someone. So I feel like this Five of Wands could be bringing some interpersonal conflict. And then from what I can see, the only other wand you have is this Knight of Wands here, which I feel is, because it's close to this Page of Wands, I feel like this Knight of Wands is going to bring a lot of intense energy to your relationships, especially seeing that it's right next to this page here. Okay. Also, I forgot this Queen of Pentacles here. She's the wife, she's the stable person. You know, in contrast to the King, this Queen of Pentacles is a mother figure. She's nurturing. Once again, this isn't necessarily another person. It doesn't have to be. I feel like for this 21 card reading, these queens and court cards represent all of the shifts and changes in various aspects of your life. So motherhood, being a partner, a good partner, or a good wife, or even husband, this can apply to the energies of men and women. It's going to be pretty relevant here near the middle of the year. So those are the elements that I'm seeing here. But before I get started with the major arcana and the other specifics, just know that as I read these cards, there's no past, present, and future. I'm going to begin here at the beginning of the year with this first card, and by the time I get to this Five of Swords, that will be the end of the year. Okay, and then also these columns, you have 7 columns here. Each column here has special significance, which I'll explain. Okay, but let's go from row to row. So as I said, I have the feeling that even as we head into the end of 2017, some of you Scorpios, in your material world, as far as your job and where you're living, some of you are going to be getting a change in luck and new changes. For instance, some of you might be getting a new boss or hiring new co-workers. As far as your career, and this might bring a little bit of chaos. The Five of Wands is not as intense as the Five of Swords, but this is ushering in new changes in your life. And some of you might already be aware of those changes, especially in your career, as we're heading into the last few weeks of 2017. So when I see this Wheel of the Year or the Wheel of Fortune kick things off, and then it's followed by this conflict, I kind of see this Five of Wands as sorting everything out. I see some of you, when you make the transition from this Wheel of the Year, change in luck, evolution in your life, new things coming in, old things going out, just like the seasons, this Five of Wands becomes the card of sorting things out, getting things in order. And then I sense that when you get to the Six of Swords, some of you are actually, the plans that you've made near the end of the year, the changes that have come into your life previously, now you're traveling, you're getting to that new place. The plans that you've made, you're following through on those plans. So remember, my first impression for some of you is actual physical changes, physical travel, travel to a new job, travel to a new home, even just travel for an extended time, not necessarily a permanent move. I'm not ruling out emotional healing and the need to you know, reflect back and leave certain things behind to get yourself to a better place emotionally. That certainly could be the case here. But I think it's interesting. I feel like this Six of Swords is leaving this Five of Wands. Like, I'm done with all this chaos. Everything's in order. I'm ready to go. Let's go. That's how I'm feeling this. Okay, and so interestingly enough, I have Justice. And keep in mind, your major arcana, you seem to have, especially in this first row, significant major arcana. 4 major arcana are here in this first row. In your second and third rows, you basically have the Tower here, big shifts. And then you have the Magician here. So for this first row, the first part of your year, heading from winter to spring, lots of transitions and changes, and some of them you may not have control over. That's what the wheel of the year means. Just like the seasons, things grow and change, and there's nothing you can do about it. So remember what I said. On the career front, new bosses, new shifts in your departments, minor shakeups. And then on the relationship front, some of you could definitely be out of relationships and you're starting over and you're like, well, what now? Where do I go? And so this Five of Wands is like sorting things out, and you sort of make the transition, okay? So by the time we get here to Justice, you have three major arcana in a row. Justice, making things fair, doing the right thing. And then the Hermit, which is the card of enlightenment, seeking truth, trying to, you know, look for guidance, okay? Seek wisdom, learning from the past. And also just your inner spiritual truths here. By the time we get to Temperance, then we're finding a little bit of peace and stability here. After all the little minor annoyances and chaos that you went through, as we head into spring, you're coming into the energy of the Temperance card, and then you have the energy of this Four of Swords, which is the card of rest and retreat and detachment. That also does not cross out the possibility of, once again, a significant trip here. I'm getting these two swords in your first row. I'm kind of getting a sense of traveling and peace and adjustment, and you're in this new place. You're in this new environment, and I feel like this Six of Swords and Four of Swords are indicating a time of quiet transition, okay? Especially with the Hermit and the Temperance card. Both cards are about inner strength, your inner spirituality, your realizations. And you know, Scorpios, you're definitely capable of that, especially since you're water. You love hard, you play hard. You're very emotionally loyal, you give a lot. But at the same time, it can be draining. And I feel like some of you Scorpios are going to just sort of like emotionally pull back from what I'm seeing here. Making sort of drastic, start taking care of you instead of taking care of everybody else, if that makes any sense to you. So the second row with new beginnings and the Ace of Pentacles, then this is when we come into more swords here, facing decisions with these new opportunities, trying to resolve conflicts and blocks. So lots of thinking, discussing, conversations that will be happening with this new opportunity of the Ace of Pentacles. And I get the feeling that, especially in career, like I said, I feel like some of you in your jobs might be going through some dramatic shifts in your jobs, people leaving, new people coming. You might find yourselves in new roles with new responsibilities. How I'm feeling this is that this Two of Swords, it's a need to sort of, the Two of Swords is a need to sort of get beyond your personal blocks and fears. I think some of you might actually be a little tentative about changes. Scorpio, I think emotionally it's very difficult for you to cut off your emotions and go with a new situation, especially as far as releasing control and forgetting. You don't forget anything very easily. So the contrast here with this Two of Swords, which can mean a disconnect between you and another person, or a disconnect between your head and your heart, your conscious and your subconscious, that's when we come to this Page of Cups right here in the middle, this opening up of emotions. I'm getting strong relationship vibes, someone very important, um, who will be very important in your life coming along. Um, Definitely a little bit of romance that I'm seeing here, as we come in from spring to summer. And then this Tower, um, the first thing I thought of when I saw this Tower was that your world's about to get rocked here. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, because yes, the Tower does bring unexpected changes. Sometimes you're not, most of the time when the Tower happens, you're not even looking for those changes. But I feel that for some of you, it's a change that's needed, because the Tower always gets rid of things that are not working for us, um, in the bigger picture. And we don't see that big picture. And we're like, why did this happen? This is awful. But I feel like the Tower, especially in your personal life, Scorpio, there might be some big event, maybe a minor catastrophe that you have to attend to. And all of a sudden, this Queen of Pentacles, the energy of the mother role, the stable one, sort of kicks in as well. So lots of interaction with court cards, the Queen, the Page, the Knight, and then a Queen of Pentacles here. You do have 3 queens here. The Queen of Wands is missing. I feel that for some of you, there might be a little instability here, especially in the home life, some fires that you have to put out. Also, a need for financial stability, taking care of someone else. That's what I'm seeing here with this pairing of the Tower right next to the Queen of Pentacles. Someone's going to need your help a little bit. But on the romance tip, when I look at these cards, when I come into this Knight of Wands, what follows the Knight is the Tower being shook up a little bit. And whatever is going to happen is definitely going to create a new adjustment for you, okay? Especially with this Queen of Pentacles. I think you're going to recover nicely. That whatever changes the Tower is about to bring, as far as shifts in your job or just falling in love head over heels, this Queen of Pentacles is coming along to sort of bring stability, to bring adjustment here. And keep in mind, this Ace of Pentacles is bringing you what you want, if it is about job security, if it is about a new relationship. And that's usually how I interpret the Ace of Pentacles as far as relationships. When the Ace of Pentacles comes around, I'm thinking, oh, someone's going to start dating again, okay? In the physical material, just meeting people. So, yeah, you're going to be shook a little bit. Big surprises. Some of them, it might be like sort of unsettling for some of you, because once again, you do not like things you can't control. You don't like things that throw you off kilter, especially emotionally. But like I said, I see this Queen of Pentacles following the Tower, as if the tarot is saying, don't worry, you're going to get a handle on it. But this is going to be more than what you expected. Okay, so heading into this last row, these swords are popping up, a little bit of confusion and some conflict here. This Knight of Cups, he's heading right into the Page of Swords here, confronting a discussion, decisions and delays, okay? Almost as if you might be opening up emotionally. You're emotionally pursuing, not necessarily in the relationship terms, but I feel like some of you will emotionally sort of wake up a little bit and say, you know what, this isn't making me happy, this is what makes me happy, and I want to pursue that, I want that. So this Page of Swords, this Knight is writing to the Page of Swords, the card of doing Sometimes it can mean doing research, but it is the card of, sometimes it can be a message of truth. Sometimes it can be, it can mean making an important decision, okay? Thinking things through. And that's when we get the power of the magician. The power of the magician to use influence to get what you want here. But it seems as if what's following is that you're trying to use the energy of the magician, you putting yourself out there, and then all of a sudden you come into this Eight of Swords here. Someone's confused. Not necessarily you, but I feel that someone else is not going to be understanding of what it is you want as far as your career moves or your relationship. And I'm feeling mixed messages, okay? And it could even be that because some of you had new job opportunities, like I saw earlier, you're taking these new opportunities by the horn, so to speak. And it's just leading into more confusion with other people. That's what I'm kind of feeling here. When this Eight of Swords pops up right here in the middle of the third row, I'm kind of feeling that maybe people don't understand what you're doing. Your vision isn't being clear. And just the normal relationship hiccups here. So as we close out, then we get a Six of Pentacles, giving and taking, supporting someone, you know, giving at the job, having to throw your support behind that new boss or that new coworker. The Queen of Cups comes along. So you go from a Knight of Cups here to a Queen of Cups. This emotional understanding, this intuition, emotionally using your inner resources to understand people. Just keeping yourself on an even keel here. But here's what happens with this Five of Swords. The Five of Swords is sort of giving me a sense of conflict here. When I look at how these pages are showing up in your third row, you have that Page of Swords, and then we get, after this discussion or this talk, all of a sudden we have this Eight of Swords where there's confusion, people are not on the same page, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of insecurity, and then the Five of Swords, which is this need to, you might be feeling that, wow, I got this great opportunity or this new relationship, and all of a sudden all I'm getting is just more complaining, more pushback, okay? More communication issues, lack of trust. And I'm not saying that the rest of your year is going to be crappy. I'm not saying that the end of 2018 is going to be awful. But just as a matter of, you know, as I said, these new changes, this shift in luck, new opportunities. There's always a new cycle of growth. There's always a new cycle of learning lessons here. So as you head towards this Five of Swords, see this as a matter of clearing the air here to confront things that haven't been working at your job or haven't been working in a relationship. And especially for those of you who might be encountering a new relationship in the middle of the year, this Five of Swords might be showing up at the end simply to indicate fine-tuning, okay? Winning some, losing some. So these swords together are kind of telling me an interesting story here. Not necessarily of heartbreak or drama like the 3, 9, and 10 of Swords. But with the 4, 5, 6, 8 of Swords, 2 of Swords, Page of Swords, Queen of Swords, The swords are just telling me issues of where you're going to have to step out and learn to compromise, talk to people, um, and manage people a little bit better, with more bold decision making. And I kind of feel like some of you Scorpios have been holding back. You know, emotionally, you have a very private shell, um, like Cancer, so to speak. Pisces is sort of a little bit open emotionally, but I feel like you Scorpios, emotionally, it's very difficult for you to come out emotionally and trust, even as on the nurturing tip. Like I said, you love hard and play hard, but you just don't give yourself emotionally to anyone. It takes a while for you to trust, and even a little bit picky here. So when I see these swords coming up, I'm seeing this need where people might be getting in your face a little bit this year, next year. You're going to have a need to defend your boundaries because um, you can be emotionally nurturing and giving, but at the same time, your heart is steel here. And that's an intentional pun with all these swords, that you have no problem addressing, um, being honest and facing conflict head on, especially if someone has issues with you. And that's kind of how I'm feeling that, issues with other people. Now, when we look at column by column, we're going to read vertically here. This first column here, when we go from the Wheel of the Year to the Ace of Pentacles to a Knight of Cups, these three cards represent your home. And I kind of feel like, once again, in your home, new shifts and new changes and new opportunities. I feel like for some of you in your families, they might be needing a little bit more emotional support. There might be some personal issues, not just with a partner, but for some of you with your children that you're still trying to work out in the home. I feel like some of you are making new transitions with your finances, where you're living here. Once again, the Wheel of the Year indicates shifts or changes, even someone coming back home to live, okay? Or a new person or a new partner, you and a new partner deciding to live together. So in the home life, kind of new shifts and changes, new places. And emotionally, I think it's a matter of adjusting to those changes. Um, you know, even for those of you who might be in love with a partner, um, you know, emotionally committing to a live-in situation, or um, even marriage, okay? When we get here, this second column here, it pertains directly to you. And I think it's interesting, Scorpio, you have all these swords here. You go from a Queen of Swords and then you have a Page of Swords. And you have this Five of Wands. Remember what I said about Five of Wands, not being on the same page with people, resolving these little petty arguments. So the Queen of Swords, with her wisdom and conversation and judgment and clarity, comes along. And then this Page of Swords, once again, I kind of feel like some of you are going to be having important discussions. I think some of you are, the Page of Swords can also be used to understand your personal truths. To you see that he's holding up the sword as if to defend himself. And so I think some of you are going to be, in your lives, I feel like some of you are going to be, find yourselves more assertive than usual with people. Because of the conflict, I think this Page of Swords is coming around as if you're going to be like, no more conflict. I want to resolve this once and for all. Okay? You're going to be the problem solver. Okay? In relationships and career. Now, the third column, This is about people surrounding you, your partner, your family, your friends, your coworkers. So once again, traveling. Once again, new shifts. And it could be, once again, a new job. For some of you, I kind of see a new person at the office, a new boss or a new coworker. And I see a lot of, traveling and new places. These swords, more swords here, because now you have that Two of Swords reversed. A little bit of a blockage here between you and someone else, or between you and what you want, between the head, heart, conscious, subconscious. But then this Magician shows up, and then we get a stronger force, manifestation, someone willing to work with you, someone who has influence. Okay, the Magician is about creating miracles and making and manifesting what you want. It's about being confident and going after what you want in life and achieving that. It's about being determined. So when I look at this surrounding other people in your life, I'm feeling that you are going to have more influence than usual in 2018. And you might even find yourself, especially with all this transitioning and shifting and stalling and not making decisions, I feel like this Magician is coming along as far as your relationships with other people. It's a matter of influence. It's a matter of stronger connections with people. People being willing to work with you. Okay. So when we get here, this fourth row, consider that your yes or no column here. And what does that mean? You have Justice. And then you go to a Page of Cups. And then you go to an Eight of Swords. Especially if some of you are wondering about new romance for the year, the Tarot seems to be saying with this Eight of Swords, yes, there will be new beginnings. There will be balance in your life, okay? We go from Justice, which is about what's right and what's fair, to the Page of Cups, which is a new emotional beginning. Falling in love, perhaps, finding a job that you love. Then we go to an Eight of Swords, which is a little bit of confusion here. As far as whether you get what you want, the Oracle seems to be saying you might get what you want, but it's going to be sort of like it's sort of like thinking that you're getting a gift, and you open the gift and it turns out to be something that a beautiful piece of furniture, but you have to assemble it and put it together yourself. Now that's a weird analogy, but what I'm saying here is that it feels like the Oracle is saying in this yes or no column, you'll get what you want, but it's right in front of you and you're going to have to figure it out. Assembly might be required. There might be a few obstacles that you have to get past. All right, it's not going to come 100% perfect, and it's not going to be ready to go just yet. There are a number of issues that you're going to have to work out. So when we look here, this is the column of unexpected things. Okay, things that might come as a surprise for you. And so when we go from the Hermit to this Knight of Wands, who could definitely be a surprise here, you have a lot of downtime with the Hermit, and then you go to a Knight of Wands, and then you come into a gift from the Six of Pentacles. And once again, this is about support, not just money, but someone who is lending support to help someone else. generosity. Some of you might actually get a loan that you weren't expecting, or a windfall of money. Okay? When we get here to the 6th column, then we're dealing with what you expect, but it may not happen. So, you know, you have Temperance here, the card of peace and balance and happiness. And then you go to the Tower. You might be expecting a big, and I'm reading this differently than when I did when I was going from year to year, because I'm looking at something specific here. So the interpretations are going to shift a little bit. But as we look at the Tower, you know, there might be big shifts and changes that you're hoping, as far as obstacles getting out the way, and then you find yourself at the Queen of Cups, being in love, being happy. That is a possibility, but it's on the side of a maybe, maybe not. Okay. So this last row, the 7th row, this represents what will probably happen. You have a 4 of Swords, the card of retreat, taking a break. Then you have this Queen of Pentacles, this motherhood issue, this family issue, home and finances, and you're going to be dealing with some conflict here. But it's a conflict that I feel like you'll get past. I think it's a conflict that you're going to learn from. It's a conflict that I feel like even you might feel you need to address or solve here. So I don't want you to look at this and say, oh, my year 2018 is going to be an awful year, because this conflict is coming along because you're going to be getting new opportunities, and you're starting a new cycle. And whenever new cycles begin, there are more lessons to learn. There are more challenges to overcome. There are new people who come in and old people who leave. And so you shouldn't necessarily feel defeated here, because I feel like by the time you get to the end of your year, you're pretty much going to have a lot that's worth fighting for. And I think you'll be able to see beyond this 5 of Cups and say, you know, it has been a year of changes, so many good things. Let's see what I can make out of it this time around. So Scorpio, that was your reading. And as always, I want to thank everyone for their support. All the people, the hundreds of people who got readings from me this year. This is the end of the 3rd year for me since I've been doing this. I started in 2015. And it's always just been wonderful reading the comments on YouTube and seeing how much these readings resonate with you. So I thank you for your support in getting this year-end reading. It helps out a lot. I hope to be doing more of these readings for you in the future. As always, my monthly readings will be free. But thank you so much. I wish you all a happy new year, and I'll see you next year. Take care.